Hello and welcome to the Learning Love Podcast. I'm Dr. Mark A. Hicks, author of the book Learning Love. It is possible to build the healthy, happy, thriving relationships you have always wanted. So let's spend some time learning love. Love is the answer. Now all we have to do is explore all the questions. We live in a society that talks a lot about love, but do we really know how to do it? How to live it? How to teach it? Knowing what love is and how to live it out. Learning love is not romantic. It's revolutionary. It changes our marriages, our families, our communities, our workplaces, even our nation and our world. That's a lofty goal, but love is strong enough, powerful enough to do that when we are living out healthy, happy, thriving relationships. And it starts with us. It starts with our homes and our workplaces and our communities, and building on that love. And dare I say it, we change the world. But we start here. We start by learning love. Today, I'm going to talk about a very simple way to measure, are your relationships healthy? Any relationship in your life, are they healthy? Are you having good connection with people? Are you living a life of love? Are you living a life that has healthy relationships? This gets hard to measure sometimes in our own minds because, let's be honest, most of our families that we came from are kind of messed up. Maybe it was a good family. Maybe you had a good relationship with your parents growing up, with your siblings. You had a happy family. But as I've said many times over the years, even if your family was healthy and happy, they were kind of odd. They were kind of quirky, weird in their own way. That's okay. That's what makes them charming. But that doesn't necessarily translate to healthy relationships outside of that, because you had your own way of doing things in that family. And it won't necessarily work outside that family, at least in the same way. And that's best case scenario. From there, we're talking about dysfunctional relationships, toxic relationships, even abusive relationships. And if you grew up in that, you have a skewed idea of what relationships are. You have to unlearn those unhealthy patterns and learn what love is and how to live it out. And so when we come out of these various family backgrounds, we usually have this default mode where if it was kind of like our family, it kind of feels right. It kind of feels normal. Whatever we grew up with, we assume is normal. And that's not necessarily a good assumption to have. We need a better measurement. Are we having healthy relationships? Are we living out healthy relationships in our lives, in our homes, in our workplaces, all throughout our life? Do we have healthy relationships? Today, I'm going to give you a very simple measurement. It comes from professor, psychologist, author John Gottman. He was the one that came up with this, and I just love it. I think it's a great idea. He actually researched what does a healthy relationship look like. And in his research, he discovered in a healthy family relationship, in a marriage, for instance, or in a romantic partnership, in those relationships, there are 5 positive interactions to every 1 negative reaction. It's a 5-to-1 ratio. If you have 5 positive interactions with a person to every 1 negative interaction, you're doing pretty well. If you can get more than that, great. Then you're really rocking. Then you're thriving. But if you want a healthy relationship, you need to get to a place that in your interactions, you have a 5-to-1 ratio. According to John Gottman's research, those are healthy relationships. Those are people that do pretty well. Because our relationships aren't going to be perfect. Okay, let's not set expectations that everything has to go well all the time. Sometimes we're going to be snippy. Sometimes our partner is going to be in a bad mood. They're not going to sleep well. We have a lot of things that affect us in life. We go through a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things in life. People that are close to us get sick or they pass away, and we're going through this grief process. There's a lot of things that affect us in life. And we just make mistakes. We just have flaws. We just mess up sometimes. We're just human. And so everything is not going to go perfectly. So if we have this idea that love should always go well, that if we love each other, it should always be blissful, and if don't always have great interactions, then something's dreadfully wrong. That's not correct. That's an attitude that's going to get you in trouble because it's just an expectation that can't be met. We're going to have negative interactions sometimes. We're going to have struggles. We're going to say things the wrong way. We're going to hurt each other's feelings. We're going to do things that are just messed up. That's okay within limits. It's natural, human to mess up sometimes and to have those negative conversations, those negative interactions, the things that just did not go well. It's okay to have those, but they need to be limited. If we're going to have a healthy relationship, we need at least 5 positive interactions in that relationship to every one negative one. And so if we've had a negative interaction, that can kind of clue us in. You know what? We need to get this together. Let's do something nice. Let's have a good conversation. Let's get this together. Let's go have dinner and just have a nice night. Let's do something that we're having a nice interaction here because we want to keep this healthy and we want to be happy together. We want to do well. And so it is an easy way to measure. Are you living out a healthy relationship? If you have that 5-to-1 scenario, that 5-to-1 ratio, you're doing pretty well. You can probably do well. Now, there's some obvious exceptions to this, okay? These are just normal everyday interactions we're talking about. Now, if you have a negative interaction because you found out your spouse just had an affair, that could be very different, okay? That's a dramatic, turbulent event. That can be a deal breaker for relationships. And so we're not talking about some terrible, dramatic event in your life. Those are different things entirely. What we're talking about is the day-to-day interactions that we have, the normal routines that we have in life. How many positive interactions are we having to every negative one? Now, I think that might sound easy to some people. 5-to-1, that's not bad. I mean, surely we can have 5 positive interactions, but think about your normal everyday interactions in your home. You come home, maybe things at work were kind of annoying. And so you come home and you're kind of irritable. Your spouse says to you, how's your day? It's fine, I guess. They're getting on my nerves. Okay, now you didn't necessarily have a terrible interaction there, but that wasn't very positive with your spouse. It's okay to talk about your day, but if you just kind of grunt it, if you just kind of blow them off and don't really talk about anything, you just sort of grunt, or maybe you do take it out on them. Maybe you kind of snap at them because you're in that bad mood. That's not a great interaction. Now, you sit at dinner and maybe the kids are acting up and one of the parents calls the kids down, but maybe kind of harshly, and the other parent who's a little more tenderhearted thinks, you're being a little harsh. Yeah, they're acting up, but you don't have to be so snippy with them. You don't have to be so harsh with the kids. And you have a little disagreement on parenting, which is normal. People don't always agree about parenting, but maybe you're not on the same page there and it kind of gets a little annoying to you. And then you're going through the day and you're cleaning up the dishes and you're getting the homework with the kids and you're doing chores around the house and you're already exhausted from a day's work. And by the time you get the kids put to bed, you're just kind of exhausted. Maybe you just lay down and go to sleep. You're scrolling on your phone. You're not really talking at all. And you're having no interaction at all at that point. So how many positive interactions have you had that evening and how many negative ones? Now, hopefully that doesn't happen every night, but I think that's not unrealistic. When you are dealing with work and chores around the house and with kids that are acting up, and it's just easy to get into the pattern where you're annoyed, where you're frustrated, where you're just trying to get everything to work well. You're trying to get the kids in bed. You're trying to get the house cleaned up. You're trying to get ready for work the next day. You're trying to not be too angry because your coworker was a moron. All these things that we deal with, it's easy to get into these patterns where we're not fighting. We're not blowing up at each other. We're not having these horrible interactions. It's just negative. It just falls to the negative side. And we get into that pattern where we just ignore those. We don't really think anything about them. It's just life. And then we never ask the question, am I offsetting that? Okay, maybe we had a bad evening. Maybe things didn't go that well on an evening. Maybe we just weren't on the same sheet of music. We weren't doing particularly well as a couple that night. How do we offset that? How do we get things into a positive way so that we're getting the ratio right, so that we are getting 5 positive interactions for every negative one? We may have to work at that. We might have to make some plans. We may have to say, you know what? Things have been so busy and so hectic and so frustrating and so annoying lately that most of our interactions are negative, maybe neutral, but they're certainly not positive. We might need to work at this. We might need to actually make some plans that we have some positive interactions. Things like date nights and things like that we're going to intentionally work at having some positive interactions. If we keep this ratio in our minds, we pay attention. how many positive interactions we're having to every negative one. If we can get that ratio to 5 to 1, 5 positive to 1 negative, we're living a healthy life, a realistic one where there's going to be problems, there's going to be negative interactions, there's going to be disagreements. We understand that. We're human, but we're living a good life. We're living well together. We're interacting well together. And we're in a place where those ratios are working out, where we have many more positive than negative interactions. When we have that, according to John Gottman's research, we are hitting that good place of a healthy relationship. Now, that's how we do it at home. Can we transport these kind of numbers into the workplace and apply it there? The negative interactions we're having with our coworkers versus the positive ones. And how does that affect our workplace? Not only how we enjoy our work, but our productivity. Are we achieving what we're setting out to do in our workplaces? Well, John Gottman studied that too. And turns out it's a very similar number. What he learned in his research is for high performance teams, teams that are really hitting on all cylinders, teams that are really working well together and achieving their goals and doing it in a good spirit where basically everyone gets along, their ratio was 5.6 to 1, about 5.5. About 5.5, 5.6 positive interactions to every 1 negative. If we can do that in the workplace with our coworkers, not only will we enjoy our jobs more, but we are a higher performing team. High performing teams have positive interactions. They work well together. If we can get the ratio at work to 5.6 to every 1 negative interaction with our coworkers, we have a great chance of having those healthy relationships that are going to be high performing relationships, high performing team in our workplace. We're going to get the job done, get it done well, and enjoy doing it if our positive to negative ratio is 5.6 to 1. Now, he went on to see that average teams performing at a basically average level, they're getting the job done, they're doing pretty well, they're not high performance, they're not really hitting on all cylinders, but they're getting by, and they're basically doing well, average work, that's a 2 to 1 ratio. 2 positive interactions to every 1 negative interaction. They're getting there. They're doing okay, pretty average, getting the job done, not hating each other, but not really loving life at work. And then he looked at low-performing teams, teams that are just not producing, teams that are not achieving their goals particularly well and not enjoying what they're doing. Their ratio was 1 positive interaction to every 3 negative ones, a 1 to 3 scenario. 1 positive interaction to every 3 negative. And so in his research, he showed that not only does our interactions with our coworkers affect how we like our job, but it affects our performance as a team. And so if we want to be a healthy, happy, thriving team at work, we need to work on our interactions. We need to keep things positive. Yes, we're going to have to deal with issues. Yes, we're going to have to deal with struggles sometimes. And again, we're human. We're going to make mistakes. It's not going to go perfectly. But if we want to be a high-performance team, 5.6 positive interactions to every 1 negative one is what the research has shown in John Gottman's research to be a high-performance team. Virtually the same number that it takes to be in a happy, healthy, thriving relationship at home. These same principles apply whether we're talking about home or at work or in the community. We need our interactions to be mostly positive, roughly 5 to 1, if we're going to be in these healthy, thriving, happy relationships. So now we have a goal. We have a marker. We can keep track. We're not just winging it. We can look at that and have positive interactions on purpose, especially when we find ourselves in those difficult times. We find ourselves making mistakes or dealing with just the grind of life and the everyday struggles of just getting through the day. That we on purpose work at having positive interactions because we know if we can get to that 5 to 1 ratio, we're going to enjoy it a lot more. We're going to have a lot healthier relationship. We're going to achieve a lot more. We're going to be a high-performing team at work and at home of living life well together. So keep that in mind. Keep that ratio in your mind and work towards it. It's a simple way of measuring, is my relationship healthy? And if not, let's work at it. Let's build some positive interactions to build positive relationships. And that's my thoughts this week as we work to build those healthy relationships that we all want. As always, I hope you'll go to my website, markahicks.com. There's a lot of stuff there I hope you'll take a look at, and there's easy links to purchase my book, Learning Love, Building a Life That Matters, and Healthy Relationships That Last. As always, I want to thank my producer, Abby Graves of Abby Graves Production, and I want to thank all of you for listening. Until next week, love well, everyone.